vacuum seated?
That's it. Okay, so I thought that I would sit down with you guys and talk about what life is like after college, like all the real stuff. So that's what we're doing today. My name is Alexis if you're new, and it's so nice to have you here. Thank you. Yeah, so let's get into it. So I was just gonna kind of tell you guys my story and then give you some pointers, things that no one told me that I should have probably known and would have saved me a lot of anxiety. So let's just start from the beginning. I graduated from a 4-year college, and I was doing like the traditional route of finding a job when I graduate, all that good stuff. When I was getting ready to graduate, I was applying for jobs, getting no callbacks, and like literally just being left on red. Like, no, sorry, we've decided to move on with other candidates. And then when I did get an interview for a job, I would be super excited, and they'd, say that they were gonna get back to me, blah, 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 and then they would never get back to me. And I started applying early spring semester. And so this one interview I had, I was kind of iffy about, but I was like, if it's my only option, it's my only option. And it was my only option at the time because no one else was calling me back. And they said they would, get back to me, blah, 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 after my first interview. This is the only interview I've had. And they never contacted me. And then I kept applying, whatever. Nothing. And then it was probably like April. I came up to Houston because at this point I had decided that they weren't going to contact me, and so I needed to start figuring out, okay, let me locate myself somewhere so that I can look intensely in those areas for a job. And so I decided that I was going to move to Houston with my best friend. And so in April we came up and we started looking for apartments in downtown Houston. And this may have just been me, but I had never lived in an apartment. I had only lived in on-campus housing and in my sorority house. Therefore, I had never looked for an apartment and didn't know how stressful it was, etc. And so we came down, we looked for apartments, and there was this one apartment that we literally had to apply for like within 2 days in order to get this deal they were doing. And I was like, I don't even have a job, like I can't apply for an apartment. At that time, like the application fee, I was like, that's a lot of money that I don't have. And what if I don't even find a job here? Like, what if I have to move back home? All these things were running through my head, and I was like really scared to apply, but we had to if we wanted to secure the apartment. And the apartment that we were applying for was like super expensive. Felt like it was super expensive, and I didn't know if I was gonna be able to afford it because I didn't have a job. I didn't know how much I was gonna be making, all this. So anyways, we ended up applying, and I couldn't apply by myself because I don't have any renter's history and I don't have any credit because I'm just graduating college. Now, some smart people did that before they graduated. I was not ahead of the game, but either way, I was gonna have to have a co-signer because I didn't have a job. So I had no proof of income, and they weren't gonna give me an apartment with no income to pay for it. So I got a co-signer that day, and we applied that night. Then I like had a full-blown panic attack because, I mean, we hadn't even signed the lease and I was already like freaking out just because it's stressful. Like, you realize that, you know, you've been in college for 4 years, everything's kind of like la-di-da, don't really care, going through the motions, and then all of a sudden you're like having to do like some real adult stuff and make some real decisions. And once you sign that lease, there's no getting out of it unless you want to pay a ton of money. So I just kind of had a full-blown panic attack, was crying, almost threw up, all because I was applying for this apartment that I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to afford. I forgot my brushes. This is not where I normally get ready. Sorry, this lighting, I don't know what to do about it. So I had a full-on panic attack, started thinking about what I could do so that I could make sure I had my life together, and all I could think of was applying for more jobs. So on our way back to SFA, because at this time we were still in school, we were just trying to be ahead of the game in terms of apartment hunting. And so we are driving back to school, I'm applying for jobs, and then I kind of calmed down, and you know, my best friend kind of talked me down and was like, it's gonna be okay, like everything's gonna work out, don't even worry about it. Because I was really excited. I really wanted to live in Houston now. Like, I was getting excited about living with her and like all of that. So I just really, really wanted it to work out. And so I applied for jobs that day, and then 2 days later, I get a phone call from one of the jobs I applied to, and they wanted an interview over Zoom. So I'm like super excited, and so I go to the interview. It's really cool. The job's like right up my alley. It was exactly what I wanted at the time. So I was really excited about it, and I had the interview. It went really well. They immediately scheduled me for another interview, and this interview was in person. And so I made a trip to Houston and I interviewed in person, and it went really, really well. And so that happens, and then come back, and I would say maybe like a week or two. It was like, I graduated like May 12th or something. I don't remember. Like, it wasn't the first week of May. I think it was the second week of May I graduated. I think they called me the week before, but I'm not sure. It may have been the end of April, but they called me, and I, like, right before they called me, I was like sitting in in my room in the sorority house, and I was talking to my roommate, one of my really good friends, and she, you know, me and her we have the same major, and we like wanted to do the same thing, and we were, you know, applying to a lot of similar job titles, but she wanted to be in Dallas. And so we were both kind of expressing our frustrations with like the whole job hiring process, and like just kind of being worried about if we were gonna find one, because our goal was to have a job secured before we graduated. Literally, we were talking about that, and I was like kind of freaking out, and I was like, they haven't contacted me, blah, blah, blah. I'm just really impatient. It had only been like a week or two since the in-person interview. And literally like 15 minutes after that conversation, I get a phone call, and I see it's like from them. And they're like, hi, we would like to make you an offer, a job offer. And like literally I was so happy. I literally like couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. Like I couldn't even talk. This is like my first big job. I had never, you know, gone through a real job hiring process like this, like a job offer, like I was gonna be on salary, all this stuff. And so it was like super exciting. And you know, I wanted to make sure I was making the right decision, all of that. And so I took the offer, and it worked out perfect, because I was going to be able to pay for the apartment. Like everything was looking up. And so we get approved for the apartment, and it's like graduation hasn't even happened. So like everything fell into place, which if you are a senior in college, and this doesn't happen for you the exact same way, just keep going. Don't quit. Like it will happen. The right thing will come. Oh, and I forgot to mention the first interview I had, the one that I thought that they were gonna call me back, they never did. They called me like right before graduation, wanting to like have a second interview, and it had been like a month or two later. So like just be patient. Things take time, and it will happen. But I was super happy because my goal was to have a job secured before graduation. And so I was super proud of myself, and I graduated, and I had a week at home, and then I started my job. So if I were to go back in time, I would have allowed myself a little more time, maybe celebrate, because I didn't even like go on vacation, anything. Like I had always talked about when I graduated college, I wanted to go on a vacation, and like I didn't do that. I just spent a week at home, which was mainly consisting of getting stuff for my apartment, like packing. Like if I could go back in time, I would have gave myself like a little 2 to 3 week vacation time to just get my life together before. And so a week went by, I moved to Houston, but I didn't move into my apartment because we couldn't move into our apartment until the end of May. So I started my job May 17th, whatever Monday it is. And so I lived with Alyssa, my roommate now, best friend, same person. She's from Houston, and so her family lives here, and so I lived with them in their spare bedroom and commuted to work every day. And I'm super, super grateful for them for allowing me to do that. Yeah, it was great. But so fast forward, I'm going to work, I'm living with them. So all my stuff is just like in my car, and I'm like driving back to work with all my clothes and like shoes, everything. I'm just like living out of my car. And so fast forward, it's move-in day. Of course, like, moving to the apartment is super exciting. Our apartment is beautiful. I love it. So I was like super happy and didn't really feel stressed. Like, I felt okay. Like, I was super excited about everything. And then I would say maybe like the end of June is when things started to kind of shift for me. And I started kind of getting like a little depressed, because when you move into a new city and, you know, out of college, I have no family here. I've never lived here. And I'm so grateful to have Alyssa and her family. They're literally the most amazing people I've ever met. They're so welcoming, and like, they invite me to all their family events, and I just feel like so grateful to have that, because if I didn't have that, I'd be very lonely. It sinks in that, one, this is like where I am now. Like, I have a full-time job, I'm living in an apartment, I'm completely on my own. This is what I had been thinking about like my whole time at college. Like, this is what I've been working for. And then it's like, when you get there, it's like, oh shit, like, I'm here. You still feel the same almost, like, and it starts to get like mundane again. And the only different thing than college is you're not surrounded by all your friends all the time. You don't, you know, like, there's not always something going on. It just gets kind of, you feel weird, because it's like, what now? At this point, I had started getting into reading, and I'll also say this, so I go to work 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, and then you come home, and then you go back to work, you come home, you go back to work, and then you have the weekends off. And so you really have to start making good use of your time, because yes, you do have more time, and it's not like in college where your free time was used for studying or hanging out with friends. Like, if you don't have good use of your time, you're gonna be sitting around, you know, spending too much time on social media and stuff like that. And so at this point, I had really started getting into working out again, like getting back into a good workout routine, meditating, yoga, reading. And I also got into a lot of like spirituality stuff, like stuff like that. And it was really, really good for me. It kind of, you start realizing a lot about yourself, especially at this age and this time in your life. And it's like a huge transition period. And so for me, like, using meditation and doing stuff like that was super, super helpful, and still is, and will always be. Like, that can never be not part of my self-care routine, because it's just so important. And of course, like, at a younger age, some people just aren't mature enough for it, and so it takes time to like develop the maturity to be able to meditate. But I mean, not saying that if you're young you can't meditate, but for me, I couldn't really get into it, but now that I'm older, I kind of understand it more. Got into that and went through like a little bit of a spiritual journey and a spiritual awakening, if that's what you want to call it, and started realizing a lot of stuff about myself, and I started being really happy again. Then I kind of started thinking about like what I want to do with my future, all of this. And so I have a couple things that I have some goals in mind that I'm working towards, and that's really important too, to set goals, because once you get to this point, you feel like, oh, this is like everything I've been working for has led up to this. But I would encourage you to stop. I would encourage you to don't stop dreaming. Don't stop setting goals for yourself, because there's always room to grow and new opportunities. So don't think that you're just stuck in one position. It was kind of like a roller coaster for sure, because there'd be ups and downs, and I'd feel lazy, then I'd feel motivated, lazy, motivated, because no one is motivating you, no one's pushing you, your parents aren't like, you gotta stay in school like how they were. Like, it's you have to decide what you want, and you have to motivate yourself, because no one is going to motivate you. And that was kind of a hard pill to swallow for me. There's so many different subjects I could go into, like keeping in touch with your college friends, family. My cat's about to knock this over. Getting a cat, if you've never taken care of an animal before, that was pretty stressful. Budgeting, grocery shopping, cleaning, laundry, taking care of an apartment, paying rent, bills. But I'm not gonna get into all of that. I just kind of wanted to share y'all my story and let you know that when you graduate college, give yourself time to celebrate. Don't rush into being an adult. And also be patient with yourself. This is the time to really learn truly about yourself and spend a lot of time by yourself and get to know yourself and do whatever healing you need to do. And it's not all sunshines and rainbows. It can get pretty dark and it can get pretty scary. And if you have anxiety like me, a lot of stuff can trigger that. There's gonna be bumps. Keep going. And this is a very hard transitional period, and you will feel lonely because I know I did, and that's okay. Just kind of flow with the energy and don't try to resist. Don't try to force anything in or out of your life. And just take a deep fucking breath sometimes, and yeah, make sure you have good people. This is not a time to keep around people who make you feel terrible. And yeah, that is my what is college like after it. No. What is life like after college? I think I would have loved to hear something like this if I was graduating college soon. But anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little chit chat. Get ready with me or whatever. I'm not gonna label it that because that's so like 2009. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.